Hello and good morning. My name is Jason Robinson. I'm your host on Chaturday Live. I hope everybody's okay. Hope we're all doing all right. Thanks very much for joining us. So for those that already know, on today's show, we're going to have the wonderful Kia Tennant talking to us about the pygmy hedgehogs that she's currently in charge of. Fascinating conversation coming up, I promise you that. So make sure you do stick around. As always, just before we start the show, I'm going to go into a tiny little bit of a rant and a monologue just about current affairs and what's going on in the world at the moment. So to make it more personal, as of last night, the area that I currently live in has gone into tier 2. Now, it probably doesn't feel like, for me personally, there's going to be a dramatic change because I've not really been going out like to pubs and for restaurants and stuff like that. But it kind of does hit home. And to top that off, I found out yesterday as well that somebody very close to me, their 2-year-old son has also contracted coronavirus. And it just really gives you a wake-up call to telling you that it's happening. It's happening. So I get that people obviously are very skeptical about what they can and can't do. And trust me, I'm not the person to give you advice. This is just a small chat show on Facebook. But what I can say to you is continue washing your hands, wear your mask when you go out, stay safe, and just try and stick to the rules as best as possible. You see all over the news that there's people still out partying in the middle of the streets, in the middle of the cities, in London, Manchester, Nottingham, I think it was. Or not, I can't remember which one it was, but they're all still out there on their phones, no masks, and you wonder to yourself, I mean, what can you do? So it is what it is. But on a brighter note, it is Saturday. It's the weekend for most of you. The weather is terrible in Cumbria. That's where I am. I don't know what it's like with you are. Feel free. This is an interactive show. So feel free to say hello in the comments. I will say hello back live on air. Let us know you're here. Say hello and I'll say hello back. That's how it works. For those that are obviously here for today's guest, promise you it won't take. We'll be there instantly. So, Halloween. It's Halloween today. Again, it's going to be a strange one. Do you go out? Can you go trick-or-treating? Can you take your kids out? Do you want to go out yourself? On a Saturday, would you normally be in fancy dress going out with your work colleagues? Let us know, if you're making any conscious corrective changes that people maybe should know about. Maybe different ideas how to do trick-or-treating, or make sure that this weekend goes off, a little bit more pleasant than expected. That's a self-portrait, as you can see. So, yeah, we'll put that to one side. So on today's show, we've got the cutest little hedgehogs. For those that are tuning in to watch, everything, we're going to cover every topic that we possibly can. And again, if you have a question for our guest, put the letter Q, write your question. I will read it out live on air and we'll get Kia to answer it on the show. Are we all ready? Are we all ready? Right, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, can you please welcome the wonderful Kia Tennant?
Hello.
Good morning. How are we?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good. Now, so with the current situation then, I'm guessing you're getting to stay at home a little bit more and look after these little creatures.
Yeah.
So that's always a benefit. Right, so if you don't mind, just explaining who
Yeah.
you are and why you're here today. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Kia. I breed, well, first and foremost, I'm an owner of pygmy hedgehogs. I've also recently purchased a long-eared hedgehog. He's not very happy because I'm talking and not giving him attention. And I breed them as well. So I recently started breeding them. These are very, very different to wild hedgehogs.
Right.
People often get them confused. Please do not put these in the wild because they will not survive in the wild. They're a lot smaller, hence the name pygmy, and relatively the care is the same, but the only difference is that obviously these are domesticated species, so they won't survive in the wild, and as well as that, they also shouldn't hibernate because unlike the wild hedgehogs that need to hibernate through the winter, pygmy hedgehogs, if they go into hibernation, they will actually kill them.
Right. I think we've got a bit full pelt of information here. Talk about Saturday overload. We'll start from right from the beginning then. So, I mean, you've not had hedgehogs forever. So
Nope.
why hedgehogs? Where did it come from? Let's start from the beginning. Start the book.
Basically, I was in Birmingham. I was doing my masters while I was there, and it was incredibly stressful. So I said to my parents, everyone knows me as being an avid pet lover. We've got cats. We've also got a macaw parrot. And while I was there, I wanted a pet, but I wanted something that basically wasn't going to wind up my landlady at the same time. So I did some research and came across pygmy hedgehogs. So for my birthday, my mum kindly bought me two females, and they were just fell in love with them. Just an incredible companion, easy to look after. Um, I don't know what I quite expected because you see wild hedgehogs being super spiky. So he's trying to cuddle me now. Because you, where are you trying to go? Because you expect them to be super spiky. I don't know what I quite expected, but they're actually really friendly. If they're handled a lot, which mine are handled all the time, then they should be like this. Happy to be handled, cuddly. He's a big chunk, and he does like to make a lot of noise, and he's a bit moody at times, like he's having a little temper now. But they're ever so friendly, and yeah, just fell in love with them. And then I had the two, rescued another, and then made the fatal error of speaking to a breeder that lived around the corner. She's hi Sophia, if you're watching, in little quills in Birmingham. She's amazing, and ended up getting an Algerian black hedgehog from her, which are absolutely gorgeous. I've got one that I can show you in a little while, and yeah, it went from there, and then it just escalated.
So it's escalated. I mean,
Yeah.
anybody that has pets of any shape or size, I mean, there's a limit to where, having a pet comes to an obsession. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you look like a down-to-earth person, your head screwed on. So you've probably only got maybe 6 or 7, right? Maybe.
Slightly more.
Okay, maybe.
Double digits.
Okay, 12.
Double that.
You've got 24
Yes.
pygmy hedgehogs.
Yes. Plus one long-eared hedgehog.
And oh yeah, can't forget. I mean, right. So let's get down to it. So the obvious is hedgehogs. Now, when you have an animal, there are the obvious downsides to having an animal. There is waste. There is obviously feeding. There is maintenance, looking after them. Is there like a comparison? Like how do you look after a hedgehog? Is there like you could explain it to say they're very similar to having or?
They're kind of similar between two different types of species. So the same with the reptiles, they need to be kept warm.
Okay.
So you need a heat source, or you need to make sure that their temperature doesn't fall below 20 degrees because they will hibernate and it's dangerous. So in terms of a setup, it's very similar to what you'd have for a reptile with a vivarium to retain the heat. In terms of looking after, it's very similar to a rodent. They run in a wheel. They bury themselves they forage as well. So in terms of they are pretty low maintenance to have, but the setup would be quite costly, like you'd expect with a reptile when you've got obviously the vivarium, etc. That you have to
buy. So it's not something that you can take lightly. It's not simply just going down to your local pet store and just going, here's a cage, here's a wheel, here's a water bottle, I've got a hedgehog. I mean, you've just said that there's a difference. So why not cages then?
The indoor cages, for example, like rabbit cages with the bars, hedgehogs are virtually blind. They don't see very well. So for them, they do like to climb. They are very clumsy. So it is always a worry if you have a cage like that they will climb and they can fall and they can get their feet stuck. And we have seen some horror stories where hedgehogs have got their feet stuck in those cages. Especially if yours are like mine, who always want to be out when they see you. They will try and climb up the glass of the vivarium. So if you've got a cage with bars, it's very likely that they will get their feet stuck.
Right. So you've got hedgehogs and
Yeah.
you've got pygmy hedgehogs. Other than
Yeah.
the obvious, what's the difference between pygmy hedgehogs and hedgehogs? I mean, are they the same as like this fad that went on many years ago about pygmy pigs and stuff like that? Are these forever going to be small? And when we say small, I've seen some of your photos on Facebook. I mean, you're holding some of the little ones in your hand, but
Yeah.
by the looks of the one that you've got in yours, he's not exactly one hand size, is he?
He's full. This is a typical full-grown hedgehog, so I would probably say about the size of a guinea pig.
Okay.
They vary. They vary in size. He's an absolute chunk.
Right,
Yes,
can we
you know.
just point out as well while you're there? Okay, so you don't look like you're in excruciating pain. So where's this? You know, the myth again. Obviously, with wild hedgehogs, it's acceptable, but with this, you're not getting hurt.
It's to do with the quills. These, if they're friendly, they should be down like this.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stroke it,
Mm-hmm.
it's completely down. Whereas when they're defensive, they go into a ball, and the spikes are out. So that's when it hurts because it's like a defensive mechanism, and they push all their spikes out, and that's when it can really hurt your hands. So for a wild hedgehog, I wouldn't go and just pick them up like this because they're more likely to be in a tight ball, and that would hurt if you were to pick them up.
Right, let's have a closer look. Let's get a zoom in shot. Look at that.
He's a chubber.
Hello, you. So this is your long-eared.
No, this is not a long-eared. This is a pygmy.
That's just a pygmy.
Yeah.
Wow, look at him. How beautiful is that? He's so brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So it's not just a pygmy hedgehog. I'm guessing that the pygmy range and the small hedgehog range and whatnot is just as varied, probably as the same as household cats. I mean, there's different
there's
styles.
Same with wild hedgehogs. We're used to the European ones that do the UK as well. But there are a variety of hedgehogs.
Mm-hmm.
These in particular are a crossbreed between two hedgehogs, and it's we're not actually sure if they ever were in the wild. Although they're called African pygmy hedgehogs, I don't know for sure that they actually were, because they are domesticated species and they wouldn't survive. They probably potentially could survive in the hotter climates, but even then, I think they'd struggle during the colder times as well.
Yeah.
He's going for a run. But yeah, pygmy as such, in terms of going back to your question about related to like pygmy pigs and things, they are smaller than wild hedgehogs. They are a lot smaller than wild hedgehogs, but they're not going to stay tiny. So if you're expecting them to stay like the babies in the palm of your hand, that's not going to happen. You realistically are going to be looking at the size of a guinea pig, maybe even slightly larger, depending on the hedgehog you get. And long-eared hedgehogs, which are a different species of hedgehogs themselves, he's currently burying himself because he's really mischievous. He will be a lot bigger than the pygmy hedgehogs.
So, I mean, by the looks of the one that you've got in your hand now, I mean, like you say, they're not small. Maintenance-wise, then, I mean, let's get down to the simplicity of it. Then let's get it down to like the bare 3 top things that you need to do. So you need a vivarium, not a cage. So like the ones that have the glass fronts, like you would for a snake, lizard, whatever you've got. Okay, now bedding. I mean, are they the same as like hedgehogs? Are you getting like sawdust? Are you getting what
there are 2 different routes you can go down. Most people decide to go down either the puppy pad route, so you lie in the cage with puppy pads and then you get blankets like these. I tend to get baby blankets because they're just softer and they love to snuggle in them, and Home Bargains is great for that. You can get loads of packs of baby blankets from there. Or you can go for sawdust and a hide, or some people use like Carefresh or Finer Card. The only downside of sawdust is it creates a hell of a mess. The good thing about it is the smell is better if you have sawdust because it absorbs their mess. So you have to weigh up whether you want to be hoovering up sawdust or if you don't mind the smell. But it depends on you as a person. I mean, when I only had two, I used puppy pads because it's just easier. And you literally just pick up a puppy pad, put it in the bin, put a new one down. So it really took me 15 minutes to clean them out, not long at all. Now, because I've got so many, it would just take such a long time. So now, because I can use the sawdust, I don't have to clean them out every single day.
Right, so, okay, so like, for instance, I'm sold, I want to get myself a hedgehog. Right, can I have two? I'm going to put them together. And you would say?
Ideally, no.
Right, because?
Because they can fight. Males with other males is a definite no. Not even to free roam around the house. I would never get a male out with another male, just because they are prone to fighting. So it just wouldn't be the ideal to do. They can be big babies, but if you put them with another hedgehog, it's not the best thing to do. Females, ideally no. There are exceptions. If they have been from the same litter from birth, then sometimes females can be housed together.
Right.
But I wouldn't advise that unless you're an experienced hedgehog owner, just because you'd be aware of the signs if they started to fight or if they started to show signs of aggression, which you would need to separate them pretty quickly.
Okay, so again, if I wanted a hedgehog, I'm going out there. I mean, this is not a deterrent. It's a case of, like any pet, research. You know, if you're going to go and get a guinea pig, hamster, you know, a budgie or anything, you're going to research it. So, I mean, you told me, obviously, that doesn't sound like a hedgehog.
No, that's Mum. She's peeping through.
Hi, Mum, if you can hear us. So, again, you do your research. I mean, if people want to after the show, you actually supply people with a pack, don't you? Necessarily like a how-to guide, you know, like a care guide.
I have a fully quite OCD-like comprehensive guide, which includes everything. Purely because when I was buying my first hedgehog, I wish I had it. It's incredibly frustrating when you're looking for an animal and there's just conflicting information everywhere. Some will tell you they can eat certain things, which they can't. Some will tell you that certain bedding is okay when it isn't. So doing my research, and Sophia actually at Little Quills, she was a fantastic asset for that because her breeding knowledge is second to none. She was able to say, no, this is a myth, this isn't correct, and this is what you should be doing. So on there, it's got everything from hedgehog behaviour to handling them, to what they should be fed, what they shouldn't be fed, their temperature, even things like illnesses, because hedgehogs are very good at hiding illnesses. So it's important to check them over regularly to make sure, for example, if there's something that feels a bit odd, it needs to be taken up. Or I've put on there things that would need to be taken to a vet straight away. But even people who haven't purchased a hedgehog from me, I'm quite happy to send it out. I'd rather people are reading about it and doing the right thing than not. So even if you don't buy a hedgehog from me and you bought one from somewhere else, or even if you already have a hedgehog and you're not sure, I'd rather you ask, because the worst case scenario is you doing something wrong and it's because you didn't ask.
Can we do a swap?
Yeah.
Can we see some more?
Yeah, of course you can.
People are here not to see
Please
me.
Just say bye. Just say bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh, I'm like that. I mean, are you like that with the same as like people are with cats and dogs? Are you one of these people that genuinely talk to your pets?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's calming. I think anybody that says, oh, you know, your cat and dog can't understand you, or, you know, your guinea pig doesn't care whether you're there anymore. I mean...
Would you like a super hyper one or a chill? Because we call her Mental Maple. She's my first ever hedgehog. She's absolutely crazy.
I would love to see a mental hedgehog, even if it meant only for 30 seconds. Let's see how bad it is. Let's see how bad.
I don't know. She's a bit sleepy at the moment, but when she wakes up, she tends to sort of go on a run, and she gets very excited, don't you?
Let's have a look.
She's
You? So you
she's
got
already
look at that little
purring.
blonde little mohawk on top.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't know if you can hear her, but she's already chirping and getting excited.
Yes, there you go. Yes, it's there. Again, once again, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to say hello in the comments. Say hello to Kia. She'll be able to see it as well when I let her know. And if you do have any questions, add them in the comments section. I will read them out live on air. Anything that you need to know that we've not covered so far, but I'm sure we'll get there at some point. So, what's the difference between Mental Maple then to the last one we saw?
Well, she's not living up to her name right now, but usually she goes absolutely crazy and she's climbing all up me. I can't. She's the only hedgehog that I can't clean her vivarium out with her in it,
right?
Because she runs at me continuously, and she won't sit still for 5 seconds. But at the moment, I don't know if she's just waking up a bit. But this was my first hedgehog.
Right.
She is an absolute baby, aren't you? So she's what started it all off, actually.
So this is where the fascination with hedgehogs started from, and it happened to be the most craziest one. Is she a little bit mental maybe then because it's like a territory thing because you're the first movie and now you've got others?
I think she just gets excited, to be honest. She does it with other hedgehogs. I don't think she thinks she's a hedgehog.
Right.
She gets really excited when she smells other hedgehogs and she starts running to the point she sometimes falls over because she doesn't know what to do with herself.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I think she's a bit wary on you.
I'll lift her up again. We can just see her in the bottom of the camera. Just if you, there you go. Hi.
But yeah, she's ever so sweet. But you're being well behaved today. You're not living up to your crazy self.
So, hedgehogs.
Yeah.
When it comes to food, then I'm guessing that a full roast dinner or bacon and eggs is probably off the cards.
Yeah.
Are we what kind of food are they on then? Because we've had our pre-interview last night and then a mini chat this morning. It didn't look like your hedgehogs were eating 2p penny sweets this morning. What were they eating?
They're eating worms.
Oh.
I've got some here, and if I got one,
go for it. Let's get the squeamishness out. Show us.
Okay. You guys are gonna hate me for it. I'm not squeamish, see, I'll just pick them up. But come.
That's amazing. Look at that. That's more clean than my son eating. That is. Jesus. So we'll get on to the food side of things. So again, with wild animals and obviously household animals, there's do's and don'ts. And as obviously, I'm not fully made up in my Halloween costume today, although it probably feels like it. There's a reason why I brought the pumpkin interview, because there's an honest misconception about Halloween and do's and don'ts for wild animals. So this is not really probably a good thing to have around hedgehogs then, no?
No.
Tell us why.
It will upset their stomach.
Right.
And because hedgehogs, they do like the taste of it, so they will keep eating it. And it dehydrates them. Right. So it can make them really poorly. Not so much, obviously, if you've got a pygmy hedgehog, that's easily fixed because you can syringe. Trust me, it's not fun syringing them because they'll just go into a ball. So I wouldn't advise that for anybody unless you have experience anyway. But wild hedgehogs, the access to water is limited anyway. So if you're giving them something that's going to dehydrate them, it will make them very sick. And when hedgehogs become sick, they tend to just sleep. They don't want to get up anyway. So it leads to dehydration, which effectively will kill them.
Right. Okay. So, let's do do's and don'ts. So, pumpkins are off the card. So if you are putting one outside your house or have done for Halloween this weekend, I mean, there is going to be wildlife out there that will be attracted to it. We're not saying that you shouldn't. But there is going to be obviously alternatives. So the same with domestic as well as wild. Is the rumour cat food, dog food still good? Can you still? Yeah, you can still do that.
Avoid stuff with fish though.
Right. Okay.
Because again, that it won't kill them, but it will upset their stomach.
Right.
So I'd avoid any cat food or dog food that's got fish in it.
Right. Okay.
Apart
So,
from that, eat dry or wet. They can eat either.
yeah. I'm guessing that it's widely advertised now, but it hasn't been before. But the old myth again about leaving milk out. I mean, that's because they are
Lactose intolerant.
lactose intolerant. So, although, and it's the same again with the pumpkins. I mean, they will drink it until they get sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is no, they don't know that it's bad. It's a case of they will just keep going because it's tasty. Right, who's this little fella? Let's get you close to the screen, shall we? Let's have a look.
This is Ebony.
Ebony?
She's classed as a full mask hedgehog.
Right.
These are very sought after
Mm-hmm.
because of their markings. I actually bred her here.
Okay.
So she's one that I bred. She's staying here. She's now gone on a run. But yeah, she's staying here.
Right, okay. So hedgehogs, I mean, obviously you've got them.
Yeah.
How do you get them? I mean, where are you getting these different exotic breeds from, and how does it work?
Great difficulty. There are some very, very good breeders out there who know a lot more than me. So they're very good. They've there's a couple, like say the one in Birmingham, Sophia, and there's a few down south as well who are very good. But there aren't very many locally to me. So I do have to travel to get them if I want them from the UK. But the gene pool of hedgehogs, she's now being a mental maple by the looks of it. The gene pool of the hogs is very small. And you don't want, obviously, to inbreed them. So quite a lot of my hedgehogs are imported. Right. So like Ghost, the first one, he came from Prague.
Prague, okay.
Which he was couriered and actually delivered to my doorstep by a van. Had the royal treatment. He was lovely and warm. And Matthew does that. He's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, so most of mine are imported from overseas. I've imported from Hungary, Czech Republic, Russia. Just had 3 from the USA as well. It just makes sure that your hedgehog lineage is healthy and that you're not inbreeding. Because the last thing I want to do is, firstly, for their health, I don't want them to become sick. But I also don't want to pass on any hedgehogs that potentially are going to have any problems either.
Yeah, of course. So going about it, I mean, if somebody's watching and they obviously want a hedgehog, but again, maybe seeing one that you've got, you've said to me before, I mean, there's a wait-in period. I mean, these are flying off the shelf, so to speak, if we're talking about, purchasing.
These ones in particular, the full masks, I've got 10 people waiting. See, and these don't come around very easily.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it doesn't seem like something that would be a household pet. So I'm out of the loop here because I've never come across anybody that's kept or bred hedgehogs. So how popular is it? There's a calling out there?
I think it's becoming increasingly popular. From what I've heard from breeders who have been in it a lot longer than me, I'm just putting her back. She's going funny. They've been in it a lot longer than me, and they said that it started off probably with about 2,000 people who had them, and now if you go on the UK African Pygmy Hedgehog page, there's like hundreds of thousands of people on there now. So the growth is exponential. The only thing that is a bit alarming, because I'm very much aware, I don't want to contribute to the problem being a breeder. I don't want these falling into the wrong hands and seeing them in rescues, because that does happen with any pet. So that's probably why I do make sure everybody reads my care guide first. And anybody who hasn't had a pygmy hedgehog before, I ask them if they're available to handle them first. for the reason because they may look very cute, but not every animal is for you. And I don't think you can really get. They look very cute now, but I don't think you can really estimate how they'll be, for example, when they quill, and they get very, very grumpy during that time. So it's important that I see that they're able to handle them to minimise them obviously being put up, being rehomed later on in life.
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's not something that you should take lightly.
No.
Is the answer to that. So, I mean, how can people find you then? So, how do people get in contact with you? So, you've got a Facebook page called
Katie Hoglets. Hoglets, if you don't know, are the babies of hedgehogs, hoglets.
Okay.
This is Fern. She's also one I bred and captive. Super friendly. Most of the ones I breed are actually, because I handle them all from 2 weeks old.
Yep.
So they are all super, super friendly. But yeah, Katie Hoglets are how people know me on Facebook and also on Instagram. But feel free to message me at any time. I've had people message me as well about wild hedgehogs. That's fine. I'm happy for you to do that. I may not have all the knowledge of a wild hedgehog, but there are local rescues that if I don't have the answer to, I can forward your information on to as well. So.
Okay. So, I mean, your obsession and obviously your commitment to making sure that these hoglets go to the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not taking them just down the road, are you, Kia? I mean,
I've driven quite far to make sure they're.
So, you've actually come up to where I am. You've been to Cumbria, haven't you? And Denise, which is like, a good over nearly 350 miles away, depending on how far you're traveling. I mean, that just shows obviously the commitment and the care that you're putting into this. It's not just a case of, I'm going to put them in an Amazon box and send them back, or whatever. I mean, you're really, really vetting the people just as much as they are you.
Yeah.
In regards to keeping these things obviously in the right hands, which is obviously a credit to your business and again to your love of the hedgehogs.
Another thing I do as well is important is I always if someone buys a hedgehog from me and for whatever reason they're struggling to cope with the hedgehog, I always take it back.
Right.
So I think that's important because especially at the moment with COVID and hard times and everything, circumstances do change. I know you get a pet for life and that's how it should be, but sometimes circumstances do change. And I would always take them back or take them in. I've taken in rescues. So that's another thing, is a peace of mind that if you ever were struggling or even things like if they became unwell, I'm always happy to help where I can. And I even clip some of my customers' hedgehogs' nails because they can be a pain to do. So I'm always willing to help if I can.
So, right. So you've got the hedgehogs. I did have a question there just in my head. I've lost it now. Are we swapping over? Have we got another one that we can see?
Well, I'm just going to get out, before I get out Basil, because I don't know how Basil, I don't know how he'll behave, to be honest. He's a long-eared and they're very mischievous and naughty, and he nips as well, so we don't know what we'll get. But this is actually a baby that I have at the moment. She's going to her new home next week. She's 7 weeks old. So I thought it would be a good idea to show one, just so you can get an idea of the type of hedgehogs I produce, their temperament and things. This is why on my page I usually post videos of them rather than pictures. I do try to get good pictures of them as well, but I think it's important because it's very easy to sit a hedgehog down and take loads of pictures. But as you can see, this is what a friendly hedgehog should be like before you take it home. They should be happy to be handled, shouldn't be balling up. Now, bearing in mind that hedgehogs are solitary, so this is their sleep time. So they should be asleep, and she's more than happy to be handled. She's not growling at me or anything. But yeah, this is one she's got a new mummy that she's going to next week. Yep. But just to sort of give you an idea of the type of temperament and how they are when they leave here.
I think that's the question that I was going to ask. It's just popped back into my head now, thank God.
Yeah.
I was losing my marbles. Okay, so these little hedgehogs and hoglets. I mean, am I having to the same as like hamsters and stuff like that? I mean, am I having to get these little things out of the cages? Well, not cages, sorry, out of the vivariums on a daily basis? Am I having to hug them, kiss them, look after them 24/7? Or, as you've said, are they quite all right to be? You can leave
They
them for a
are.
day as long as they're fed and watered.
Pygmy hedgehogs, yes.
Hmm.
They are naturally solitary. Mine do get handled every day, but they're not all getting a big cuddle and every day because of the amount I have. I would say you do need to check on them every day just for health reasons,
Yes.
like you would with any animal. But if you are busy and you've got a busy work schedule, these are absolutely brilliant for that because they are solitary and they love their own time and their own attention.
Hmm.
She's actually now anointing. I don't know if you can see that, but hedgehogs do that when they like the smell of something. She just started doing it because she likes mint. I think she's going to stop now. But yeah, oh, she's still doing it.
So what's that?
So yeah, that's basically when they like the scent of something, they get really excited and then they lick, 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 and then they basically foam all over themselves. It's
Right.
kind of gross. The first time you see it, you think that your hedgehog is like broken or there's something wrong. But it's perfectly natural and it means they're happy. But she loves mint, so that's why she's doing it. So she's eating the mint and then she's getting excited and licking all over herself. Um, yeah,
Oh, wow. Wow. So
they do have a lot of character.
so the food that you're obviously feeding your hoglets. Obviously, you've got those worms and maggots or whatever they look like. Uh, so are
Live.
there, yes, but are there obviously, as you can see there, they're quite happy with some sort of vegetation as well, or?
They can eat fresh produce like chicken. They'll eat egg. Um, they'll eat pinkies if you're brave enough to give them that. A lot of people don't like doing that. They should eat fruit and veg, although a lot of mine are salad dodgers. I can get them to eat mint. They love mint for some reason. Like you can see, she's green now. I don't know if you
Yes.
can see that, but she actually is green
Okay.
um,
Yes.
because she's loving life with the mint. Um, but yeah, they enjoy it. But yeah, the main thing is their kibble, so the dry food that they have, which cat food, dog food. I tend to go with kitten to be honest because they're smaller for them to eat.
Hmm.
And then live bugs as a treat, and mint and chicken and stuff as well.
Brilliant.
So
Again,
any
if
leftovers?
anybody, yeah, if anybody is watching, and again, if you do have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. We will ask it out live on air now. I guess I'd like to ask like a bit of an end of life question, if I'm being honest. I mean, what is the lifespan for a hedgehog these days?
4 to 6 years.
Right. Okay.
Some people have had amazing hedgehogs that have lived to 9.
Right.
That's
Okay.
very, very rare.
Hmm.
I think if your hedgehog's got to 5 to 6 years and it's got no problems, you're doing an amazing job.
Hmm.
Um, it's usually between 4 to 6 years. Unfortunately, hedgehogs are prone to having tumors, and they also get like bone disease and things. So that is something also you need to factor in as well. If they are classed as exotic pets, so if you want to take them to the vet, you need to find an exotic vet because not all vets will understand or know how to treat a hedgehog, and there's the cost involved as well. So that's something you do need to consider when you buy one of these hedgehogs, that the vet bill won't be cheap. Hopefully you won't have to take them to the vet,
Right.
but it's something like with any animal, you do need to factor that in, and please check before you buy a hedgehog whether you do have an exotic vet near you, because there's nothing worse than getting a hedgehog and then thinking, oh my goodness, actually, where would I take it? Because
Yeah.
none of them take vets. I mean, near us, we're quite lucky in Lowestoft because there's one in Yarmouth, there's one in Beccles. There's not one in Lowestoft per se, but there are 2 that are relatively nearby that you can go to if you need to. And there's also an amazing one in North Walsham for anybody in the Norwich area or anything that need an exotic vet as well.
So that's something else that you're going to have to take into consideration, not necessarily your home life, but obviously for care and well-being, I'm guessing you have to look around and make sure that you've got a vet that's nearby, you've got a supplier, and whatnot. Apparently, I've been told that I'm very quiet. Can you hear me? Okay, Kia?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think people are complaining they can't hear me. Normally, they tell me to shut up, but they want me to turn it up. Hopefully, that's a little bit better. So, yeah, in regards to your setup and everything that you need. Sorry, go on, John. We've got a question. Do they make a lot of mess, or are they a little bit like cats, where they groom and litter in an appropriate place? So now, do you have obviously they're not free roaming like cats, but they do have a vivarium. I mean, do they have their own little corner in the vivarium, which is their toilet, or is it? Yeah,
they do have a litter tray. I can't guarantee that they will use it. I have some that are very, very good and that are litter trained. Like with cats, how I try to litter train mine is you pick up the mess and put it in the litter tray, to keep doing that until they realise, oh, that's where you want me to go.
Yep.
Kind of gross. When they run in their wheel, they tend to go to the toilet. So the best thing to do is to put the litter tray with the wheel inside the litter tray. Because that's usually the messiest area.
Right. Okay.
Really, if I'm being completely honest, it's going to depend on your hedgehog. I've got some hedgehogs that are very clean. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh, it doesn't even look like they've been out through the night, and they have, because I've heard them. And then I've got some that are really messy. So it really depends on your hedgehog, and obviously the time you put in to keep going, no, I want you to go there, or no, I want you to go there. But yeah, they can be litter trained. They do need regular cleaning out though.
Yep.
So I would spot clean them per se every day. But if you keep on top of that, you shouldn't need to be doing a big clean like all the time. As long as you're spot cleaning the poop each day, it should be easy to maintain.
Mm-hmm. Right, so if you grab us another one, or
I'll get Basil out. I can't guarantee how he's going to behave, but I can hear him rustling about.
It's kind of funny with the tension in the room. What could it possibly be like? I guess, Kia, obviously you can still hear me. I guess the question is as well, I mean, are they constantly, it's vivarium and nothing, or is it a case of if the temperature's all right, you're letting them run around the room, or have a garden runner? Does that work, or?
Yeah, they can go outside. The only thing I say for people is when they go outside, because they do need the warmth, he's already nutting me. When they need the warmth, they should really go outside when it's over 22 degrees, really, to make sure that they stay warm. I will let them run around the garden, but they do move really quickly. So keep that in mind, because you might have an escape artist.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Sorry, I've just seen a message come up that kind of made me laugh. It's so inappropriate. A message from Ian. How do you cook them? Yeah. Yeah. How do you cook them? We'll ignore that question.
Hi, Dad. I'm glad he's watching it though, but he should be at work. So.
All right, wait till we tell your boss, Ian. Right. Right. Again, another one from John. Thanks, John. Are they expensive to keep and buy? I mean, without going into too much detail on the air about your necessary price list, we'll wait for people to contact you. These things themselves, they're not going to be the £15 goldfish that you're going to get from Pets at Home, are they? There's because of the rarity of them and obviously the breed and whatnot. I think the best thing to say is that they don't come cheap, and at the same time, it definitely separates the possibles to the definites who wants to to own a hedgehog. We'll put it in that price range, shall we?
In terms of maintaining, though, I don't think they're expensive, because dry food, cat food it's not an expensive. What are you doing? But the setup isn't cheap.
No.
When you get the vivarium and everything, and the hedgehog itself isn't cheap. But I'd say once you've got the setup and the animal, they are pretty cheap to actually maintain.
Mm-hmm. Now he looks like obviously he's quite happy just walking around there, but again, to contrary belief, they're not slow animals, are they?
No, I'm wondering if he's about to start nutting things. He has a habit. He'll probably knock the Mario worms over. This is a long-eared hedgehog, so it's not a pygmy.
So this is the difference is obviously in the name, long-eared, as you can probably see on your screen now. I'll enlarge that again to make sure that you can see that. Look at that. So long-eared hedgehog. What's the difference other than the obvious then? Is there different upkeep, same sort of diet, same sort of lifestyle, or?
Lot bigger. He'll get a lot bigger. Temperament very different. Pygmy hedgehogs, the majority are quite placid. These, you really want to make sure you've got one from a good breeder because they can be really feisty.
Okay, hang on, before you go on. So what's that you're holding, Kia?
And unlike the pygmy who tend to be...
Oh. So what is that, Kia? Is that just a cat treat?
Yeah.
So, again, that's like a denture stick, is it, or some sort? Or?
Yeah, that you'd give to a cat, but I think he's more interested in free berryman right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Wow. So again, we'll go back to it again for those that have tuned in and didn't watch. So there is no, as long as your hedgehog is happy.
Yeah.
As you can see right now, you're holding him without having to put on some like ginormous gardening gloves or
That's because he's come from a great breeder.
Yeah.
He came from a great breeder in Wales because these ones are known to be feisty.
Yeah.
Long-eared hedgehogs should not be bought lightly because they are known to nip. He'll nip me if he gets annoyed. Right. I very rarely get a bite at all from the pygmy hedgehogs. I can't actually remember the last time I was bitten by a pygmy hedgehog because they're bitey, really. These ones are known to bite. They're very mischievous. They will play like kittens will, so they'll chase toys. So these I really wouldn't give to anybody who's not an experienced owner of a pygmy hedgehog because he's very friendly. He is because he's come for a brilliant breeder, but you could end up with one that's incredibly bitey.
Right.
Okay. So
I think from what we've seen so far on the show is that they're very tame to a degree. Yeah. Like they say, they're not going to take the postman out.
Pygmy hedgehogs are very tame, and these are if they've been handled a lot from birth and they're from a good breeder.
Yeah.
But for a first hedgehog, I wouldn't be getting one of these.
Yeah. So again, this is information. If you've missed it already, it's on the screen. But Katie Hoglets on Facebook, feel free to go over there, like the page, and if you have any questions, just comment on any one of Kia's photos, or if not, message her privately, direct via Facebook or Instagram, and she'll get back to you as soon as she possibly can with any information. I do recommend that even if you're not thinking about getting a hedgehog yourself, but you just want to know some more information, maybe if it's for a school project for yourself or maybe some of your kids, just to kind of educate people that that these things aren't. They're not ravenous killers. What about the stigma then? Obviously, with wild animals, they come with diseases then. I mean, obviously, with domestic animals, is that obviously less of a risk? Because, I mean, with wild hedgehogs, you're looking at, some sort of, I don't know, if it's rabies or anything, I don't know. What's the difference between domestic?
No, they don't get the fleas and ticks like cats and dogs either, which is good. The thing that you could get from them is mites.
Right.
That's going to be from the bedding. So if you're worried about that, don't get sawdust. Right. And if you use puppy pads, you shouldn't get that. If they've come from a good breeder, obviously they should be in great health anyway. So you won't be getting bacterial diseases. They can get things like ear infections like any animal, but they're not going to be bringing nasties into your home.
Yeah. That
can transfer to other animals. He's definitely getting lively now, isn't he?
So it's just the same as any animal then. I guess you take your cats and dogs for granted, but they should always be on a weekly basis, if not more than that. Just a general check over inside the ears, the gums, the teeth, or whatever. I mean, hedgehogs have teeth, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Sharp teeth, or are they, like you say, is it?
These ones are. Yeah. Pygmies are, but they're not bitey. They're not bitey animals. The only time you might get a nip is when they're licking, like you saw earlier with the younger one when she was anointing all over herself.
Yep.
If they like the taste of you, they'll do the same. So they'll start licking and then you might get a nip.
Right, okay. And that's kind of like a bit of a trial and error, is it?
Yeah, that's like, oh, is that food? No, it's not. And so you might get that, and that might be like, out, that hurt kind of thing. But they're not. They're more likely to go into a ball if they're scared, rather than come and attack you. These ones would charge at you if they're annoyed. But and again, it's like any animal. I mean, dogs, you can get a nasty bite from dogs. It depends how they're. So like now, he's being a baby.
Yeah.
He wants to cuddle.
Okay, so I mean, you're living proof as well where you currently are, because obviously we've done our pre-interview. Hedgehogs aren't the only thing in your petting zoo, are they?
No.
So give us a run through of what else you've got going on in that house.
Well, it's a bit of a madhouse here. We've got 2 cats.
2 cats.
Who are absolute babies. They're scared of them.
Right.
Because if they go near them, they'll just go into a ball.
Yep.
And they don't want to be dealing with the quills. So yeah, 2 cats and a macaw parrot. So when people ask me, are they okay with noise? I've had a lot of people ask me about dogs and are they okay with noise. Absolutely astounded has managed to stay quiet for this long, because usually he's squawking his head off. If they can get through that, they'll be fine with a dog. Because trust me, when he squawks, it's the worst sound in the world. So they are.
So if I have other pets in my house, I mean, 95% of the time, the hoglets are obviously in their vivarium anyway, keeping themselves to themselves. But for that half an hour a day, if you're really caring and you want to have a cuddle and clean them out and whatnot, you say because of the nature of hedgehogs in general with spikes and obviously the ability to curl up into a ball, I mean, it's probably going to be a deterrent for any household domestic animal anyway that probably wants to have a fight. So you could probably imagine a poor dog wanted to have a sniff and getting the shock of its life, no doubt. Right, again, a question from Robin, which I'm guessing is a joke question, but we'll ask it anyway. Right, can you teach them, not necessarily, he said, can you teach them to fetch? Probably not that. But is there, yes?
Not fetch per se,
right, okay.
But if you hold, he's too young, he's only 8 weeks old, but you can teach them, they will chase after things. He will.
Okay.
The pygmies won't, but he will. He will chase after. In fact, the other day he was chasing after. My sister had a little squeaky toy, and he was chasing around the house after that.
Right.
Whether he can fetch and bring it back to you, I don't know. I haven't tried. At the moment, we're trying to get you out of your little nippy, moody stage, aren't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll give it a go. I could come back to you.
So at the moment, it's not newspaper and slippers. That's not going to happen.
No.
Okay, fair enough. But in answer to your question, Robin, they can be trained to do things.
Either, and they won't chew through your wires in your house, which is great because our parrot does that. These won't.
Okay. So I mean, if you're let's do a hypothetical. You're a single occupant and you've got a little flat, and a cat's probably not necessarily the best idea because you don't have a cat flap and you may not be in all day to let a cat out. Same again with a dog. I mean, if it's just you on your own little place and you've got a hoglet, I mean, free roaming, when you want to let them out, just, let them go as long as obviously you've not got any underneath the kitchen cabinets and stuff like that. But in your front room, if you want to let them just go nutty, let them go nutty, yeah? Look at that.
Yes.
Right, hang on, I've got to enlarge that. That is
that's him in a ball, and that's I'm not happy.
I'm not happy. Okay, is this because he's not getting his own way?
Wow. There we go. There we
go. John's asking. I mean, are we going to probably see you on Britain's Got Talent? With hoglets doing no fetch, no. Okay.
No plans for that.
I mean, you could probably take on the dog that managed to go in between the owner's legs and stuff like that. It'd probably be a slower exercise than an hour-long Britain's Got Talent show, but So, I mean, what is the future then for KT Hoglets then? Where are you heading with this? Obviously, you're taking it upon yourself to make sure that the breeding in the UK, if not globally, with the connections you have, is pure. It's not necessarily about breeding them so every household has one. It's more about making sure that the ones that are out there are of best quality, and for those that are serious about having them, making sure that the reason why they're having them is for genuine reasons and not because they want to make a quick 5 £500-600 in a week by selling them all off, sort of thing.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, like anything with animals that become a bit of a phase, like you say, the pygmy pigs. What have you found? They unfortunately can fall into the wrong hands. People will see it. Oh, they're really cute, but don't necessarily know how to look after them. And there are quite a few backyard breeders who think, oh, this is an easy way to make some money. I personally, I would always say I'm first and foremost an owner. Yeah. So the most important thing to me is their health and their well-being. And if it was a case of I had to stop breeding, I would, just for the health of the hedgehogs and their temperament. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I love breeding, but first and foremost, I'm an owner, and so it's important to me that they're healthy, that they're well looked after, they get the attention they need. In terms of breeding, ideally, I would like it that people buy from me, or not just me, just other reputable breeders in the UK. And I can always, if you do want to look, if I haven't got any available, I will point you in the direction of good breeders who have. Just because I want to try and dwindle out the ones who are doing it and not having a clue what they're doing. You should be able to see the parents of the hedgehogs you're buying. If you're not, I'd be very concerned as to why you're not. You shouldn't be buying a hedgehog that is constantly in a ball. If it's constantly in a ball, it's not been handled.
Right.
So these are things that you really want to check before you buy one. You want to make sure that they haven't lost any quills as well. The last thing you want is to have a hedgehog with, like I say, mites or something, and they start losing their quills. They should be completely healthy. You don't want them balling up all the time because that's not very fun. You want them like these ones are, easy to be handled. As well as that, I would always ask the breeder about wobbly hedgehog syndrome.
Right. Okay. What's that?
It's a genetic condition where the hedgehog starts off with, and it almost looks like they've gone into hibernation because they start shaking, and it's basically the equivalent of like having a stroke, and it just gets increasingly worse, and they end up losing the function of their back legs, and it's not curable. And unfortunately, we do find that is a problem in genetics with breedings that have been done not to ethical standards, so have not been done. Of course, you sometimes do get the odd one which can't be helped, but we want to stamp that out because it's not nice for the hedgehog, and it's not nice for an owner to have to go through that and then have to put their hedgehog to sleep. So please don't be afraid. Like, if they're a good breeder, they should answer any question that you have. So they should be willing to say, these are the parents, this is their health, this is their temperament. They should be happy to show you the temperament of the adults, because if the adults are friendly, then you know the babies will be friendly, because then you get an idea of how often they're handled. So yeah, it's kind of trying to dwindle out the ones who aren't doing it properly, and unfortunately that leads to them being neglected or having to be rehomed later on in the future, which nobody wants.
I guess you've hit the nail on the head there when it comes to any sort of breeding or animal.
Yeah.
You want to be clear on the background, where the animals come from.
Yeah.
Seeing the parents, same as if you were going to go buy a puppy.
Yeah.
Or any sort of animal that you were going to get from a breeder. You want to be able to see where they've come from. Not necessarily always going to be as simple, but with modern day technology, if anybody was to contact you and say, look, I'm from Hull or in the north,
I'd be happy to FaceTime. I mean, there's no
video call them, have that conversation. That's brilliant. Again, we've had another question. Do these animals have to be licensed, or can anyone own one? Or
no, you don't need a license to own them. It's advised to, if you were to breed on a large scale, like some USA breeders do, they make it a business to have an exotic pet license. If you're a hobby breeder, you don't necessarily have to have one. Some breeders do, but you don't need a license to own one. No.
Okay.
While we're at it then, so for those that are watching, I did mention that we did have a competition going on Wednesday night. So that was when we were interviewing Mr. Pete Lister at Lister's Guitar in Lowestoft. Do you know where that shop is yourself?
Yes.
You do know where Lister's Guitars is?
Guitars is.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
We did a competition for those that would like and share, obviously, this page, Pete's page for Lister's Guitar, and then we're going to win a goodie bag. I can announce live on the air that the person that shared and obviously commented, it was only one person, but we are a news show and it's only fair and it is right. So Mr. Craig Nurick, if you're watching, or I will contact you after the show, Craig Nurick, you are the winner of the music bag with all its goodies in from Lister's Guitar. If you're based in Lowestoft, Suffolk area, feel free to pop into Lister's and grab it. I will let Pete know that you're on your way and obviously that you are the winner. But congratulations to Craig. We will be doing more prizes and giveaways on the show, so make sure you do tune in every week. If you have any suggestions of things you'd like to give away, or if there's like a multi-millionaire person out there that wants to donate some prizes, like a Ferrari or something, you know, to a very nice looking host, please do. Kia, have we got any? Can we see another one? Have you got any more? Or can you bring another one out for us?
It'll be the same one, but
fine.
I mean, I've got a lot upstairs, but
yes,
we might be here all day if we go through them all.
Yes.
We'll bring Fernie out for a little bit more. She's actually classed as a badger striped hedgehog because of her little stripes.
Right, hang on,
I'm going to put you on full screen there. I'm going to try anyway. Let's see.
Oh.
Yeah, she's classed as having badger stripes.
Explain the badger stripes.
What's the difference then? What kind of other
characteristics are you getting then? So you obviously got the masked hoglet, which you've got there.
Yeah.
I mean, could you show me
or tell me some differences that you'd find?
So key differences, obviously colour is a massive one. So you can get the darker end of the spectrum, like hair, or you can get, like Ghost, the first one, really white. The mask as well, which is this bit. So like you saw with Maple, she had the pink nose. And then we've got Fern here. She's got, it looks like lines. So their class is badger stripes. She's also got a brown belly.
Yeah.
And then you've also got some, like Ebony was, where the whole mask is completely a solid colour, which are very rare to get hold of.
Are you getting different colours on the actual back as well? I mean, we saw that one earlier that looked like it had the mohawk at the front.
Yeah, they really vary. I've got some which look like they've got eyeliner, so they've got like black around their eyes. But I've got all sorts of colours, and the range is massive. I think I've just seen Mum again.
It's not a ghost.
No, she's got another hedgehog.
Oh,
Is that Forest?
Really?
Yeah, she's got Forest. She's peering at me. Do you want me to get Forest?
Go for it, yeah.
It looks like I'm getting Forest.
We're happy. Again, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to add comments. Say hello to myself and Keith live on the show. While Key is doing that, I'm going to announce next week's guest. We are going to be graced by one of the Mr. Tom Tonks, who's a musician who's going to be playing for us live on the show next Saturday. So make sure you do tune in from 10 a.m. Mr. Tom Tonks, I will do a big announcement on the Facebook page later on this afternoon. So if you're watching Tom, I look forward to seeing you next week. And if you do have any song requests, he does covers and originals. If you have an acoustic song that you may want him to play, he might learn it and play it next week. So feel free to let us know. So who's this on then, Kia?
This is Forest.
Okay.
He's my smallest male. He's a tiny male. He's slightly moody because I think Mum's just woken him up. So this is what you'd expect. And he's also got little badger stripes on his nose, as you can probably see, with the little white lines. Yeah, I have hedgehogs in a variety of colours. So particularly, I should imagine some breeders will watch this later and want to know the range of colours that I've got. But Algerian blacks are hard to come by. I do have one Algerian black. I've got double whites. I've got cinnamon hedgehogs. I've got chocolate coloured hedgehogs. The spectrum is big, and I've got all different masks as well.
I don't know if that's going to be any better. Bear with me, Kia. I'm just trying to check.
Right. I can't hear any feedback now, so that's obviously coming from Kia's stream. I'm going to try and add it back and see if that makes any difference. Bear with me. Right, Kia is coming from you.
Sorry.
That's all right. If you could do us a favour, Kia.
Yep.
If you could log off and log back on, it should hopefully get rid of that.
Yep.
Right, thanks very much. Right. So again, next week we have the one and only Mr. Tom Tonks. He's a Lowestoft musician. Again, if you or anybody you know has a hobby, talent, or a business that you'd like to advertise on the show, feel free to get in contact. We'd love to hear from you. We're obviously coming up to the November and December period. So especially if you have any offers in your business or you have something that you'd like to share with us for Christmas-wise, please get in touch. We'll make a big show out of it. Again, as we've reiterated, if you do have these in your garden, I do apologise, this looks horrible now, I can see it on full screen. Be careful, wildlife. It sounds like a good idea to leave vegetation out like pumpkins and whatnot over the Halloween period, but you know, be careful because it will upset the stomachs. We have Kia back now. Let's see what happens. Kia.
Yes. Is it better?
I'm not sure.
Oh no.
I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we're not too bad. I think we're better than we were. I think it's just feedback. That's all it is from the echo. Have you turned me up in your room or something?
No, I haven't touched anything.
Sorry, I'll just lean back a bit. So once again, we can get hold of you at KT Hoglets on Facebook, KT Hoglets on Instagram.
Yep.
I will copy those links and I will add them to the comments section or in a separate post later on today so that everybody can get hold of you. Like you say, these beautiful little things. If you are interested about knowing any more, then again, get in contact with Kia or direct us and I'll point you in the right direction. If you are watching us from outside the Suffolk, Norfolk area, again, I'm in Cumbria, so I'm nowhere near there, and you are interested in getting yourself a pygmy hedgehog or a long-eared hedgehog, again, you can contact Kia. She's got contacts all the way around the UK and some in Europe as well, and you'll point you in the right direction of, you know, reputable breeders and obviously those that you can buy from. So, okay, what's the waiting period, Kia?
At the moment, it depends what you're after.
Okay.
If you're not fussy about colour and look-wise, you'll get a friendly hedgehog either way. But if you want a particular colour, that you'll most likely have to be on a waiting period because I've got certain people who are looking for particular types of hedgehogs. In terms of if you just said, I'm not bothered, then I always advertise them when they get to about 3 weeks old on my page, and then it's first come, first serve for them, unless you've specified beforehand you want a particular colour or type of hedgehog.
Again, you're not pumping it out like a machine. They're not breeding just for the sake of it. You know, it's a case of, you know, there is a time period.
Yeah.
You've said yourself that you have your females. They're not overworked. Like
a good breeder would leave 5 to 6 months between. I always leave 6 months, half a year, because it allows her to recuperate. It takes a lot of effort, as does any other animal, to raise babies, and hedgehogs can have big litters. I've had some that have had 7. So if you think of what that's taken out of the mum's body, they do need a while to recuperate. So any good breeder will be leaving it 6 months before breeding that female again. If they're not, then I would question the health that mum is going to be in.
Right, okay. Kia, all I can say is thank you ever so much for
welcome.
the show. I'm hoping that worst case scenario, we've managed to spread a little bit of intelligent information about the little things. And again, if you do come across any wild hedgehogs that you feel that may be in need, get in touch with Kia or your local, obviously your vet. But Kia has said that in the middle of the night you will get up, get dressed, and you will go and rescue wild hedgehogs if you need to look after them.
You laugh about that, but I've had people ring me in the early hours of the morning, and I'm not very good at texting. But if you ring me, I answer. So one thing, if my Hoglet page pings and I see an exclamation mark, then I'll be there.
So if you or anybody you know, I reckon the best thing to do is put, it looks quite rude, but in capitals, urgent or emergency, exclamation mark.
And I'll be there.
2 o'clock in the morning, get out of bed, we need you.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you'll happily respond to any questions and answers ASAP. Please don't put emergency and say, oh, by the way, I think I've run out of cat food. Am I going to be all right? It's not an emergency, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thanks ever so much for coming on the show, Kia. It has been fantastic. And I'm sure we'll have you on again with some updates. Maybe I'll tell you what, if you've got any more baby ones that come across, obviously, in the next couple of months, send them our way. We'll put them on our page and post and obviously get people to come.
Okay.
Just, keep us updated. Friend of the show now. All right.
Will do.
We'll have you on. So
thank you.
Everybody say thanks very much, and we'll see you soon, Kia. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us today on Chaturday Live. A little bit of an outro. Again, next week's guest is the one and only Mr. Tom Tonks. Performing live. We will do a post about that later on this afternoon on the page. All I can say is, again, as I started off the show, if you do have a business, a hobby, a talent, or anything that you'd like to advertise on social media via our platform, please do get in touch. Send us a message directly. I do respond pretty quickly. I go anywhere. I'm all yours. But yeah, I think as people are probably aware, at the end of every video, I do say, make sure you stay in contact. We are very much supporting mental health awareness, not only for my sanity, because I'm stuck in this room in Cumbria, but there are people out there that aren't lucky enough to be with their friends and family right now. I know that I'm 370 miles away from my friends and family at the moment. And it is tough not being able to speak to them. So, again, text, call, FaceTime, email, send somebody a message that you may have not spoken to in a while. It's always nice to hear a hello from somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, and it could make somebody's hour, week, year, month, it could really bring somebody out of that downward stoop. So again, look after each other, everybody. On a different topic that we don't really touch on, because I'm not exactly the key person for sports, but it is England Six Nations today, and I think it starts from around about 4:30. So if you are into rugby, make sure you are sitting in front of your TV for the Six Nations Continuum. It's been a while now, because obviously COVID stopped it down, but we are back. Six Nations. Put your shirts on, people. I think it's from 4:30 on BBC or ITV. I should have really looked into it. All I know is I'm excited that sports are on. Football on. For the Premier League Championships, and it's F1 weekend as well for those that are interested. Thanks very much for everybody watching. I've been Jason Robinson, your host on Chaturday Live. We'll hope to see you all again soon. Ta-da.